True Love asked Dana, after a breakup, can the codependent person start to take on traits of the ex covert narcissist like aggression? Because that started happening to me out of anger at him and learning why I fell into the situation. Oh, totally. Yes. So there's a couple different elements at play with that. Hold on a second. Aggression after coming out of an abusive relationship of any kind, and after that fog lifts, right? Because generally it takes a lot of pain to cut through that cognitive dissonance. Now we're seeing things clearly. We're no longer tangled up in holding on to hope, right? That we're no longer believing their lies. We're seeing their lies clearly. And especially after you've been out of it for any length of time, like a few weeks or even a few months, and you start looking back and you're like, oh wow, like this has been a lie. They have stolen time from me. There is a lot of anger and rage that comes from that realization, but it's appropriate. Like it's understandable and it's appropriate that you would be full of rage and anger at them and at yourself and at other people and at the whole situation, that you were treated this way, that you had been manipulated for so long, all of it. Totally understandable. It's really it's a phase in healing is what it is, even though it doesn't feel like it, but it is. And so yeah, feeling really aggressive is very, very normal. Uncomfortable oftentimes, but very, very normal. And here's something else that a lot of codependent people do. So once they realize what's happened, right, and that they've been taking a lot of well-intended bad advice from people at church, from their next door neighbor, from parents, from friends, and they start realizing, I can't trust anybody. Like nobody knew. I was in a really bad situation, and I don't trust myself. Like I don't trust my judgment. I don't trust this abusive person. I feel it's crazy making to be around everybody else who kept trying to convince me that this was workable. So what a lot of codependent people do is they, instead of, and again, I think this is very, very normal. With all of that aggression, they go to the other end with boundaries. And it's called fortressing. And so they basically build up this wall around them. And so where they're like, you know what? I don't trust anybody. I don't want to get hurt again. I don't want anybody in my life. Everybody can stay at arm's length. And they become like really extreme with boundaries, like very rigid, very inflexible, very intolerant. And some people stay stuck in that space because they're just done. Like they've known nothing but a life of abuse, and they would rather be alone than be hurt. And it makes sense. And everybody has their own line for what's comfortable with them. I think that stage, that fortressing stage, is quite possibly one of like the earlier stages of people learning to set boundaries. So in a way, I kind of think it's normal. And also can be it can be normal to stay there, to stay stuck there. I wouldn't encourage a person to stay stuck there because there are still many, many good people in the world, but so it's normal to go to fortressing and to kind of be there for a little while you're kind of getting your sea legs, right? Like you're getting your sea legs with figuring out boundaries and what you want to compromise on and what you don't. And you might find yourself really intolerant of anybody that even comes close to pushing a boundary, especially if it's a boundary push that you experienced when you were in your relationship. So if a person you're going to be full of triggers. It'd be abnormal if you weren't, I think. So if a person, let's say, lies about a similar, or just lies in general, like you catch them in a lie, or, you know, I get triggered often. So I'm a psychiatric nurse, right? So, and I work with patients who are chronically mentally ill. A lot of them, like the vast majority of them, also have severe personality disorders. So a lot of my patients are antisocial, they are narcissists, which is a huge trigger for me, right? And it's the added level of crazy making when I see things that nobody else seems to see. Like I was saying, I left work an hour early yesterday. I had this feeling. I'm like, you know what? Like this is not going to go down well. And I went back and forth with it for all that morning. And finally I thought, you know what? I Any sane person would leave the building. And I feel like that's what I need to go do right now to keep myself safe. And I followed through on that, and sure enough, there was a situation. So, it's and then like then I get triggered, and it's hard for me to really not go into that panic mode when I've got a lot of other people that I feel are in denial about the situation and the severity of the situation and how to handle it. So the point of that is that being triggered to some extent, I think it's normal, and it's going to happen, and it's how we can kind of work through that. And it's a process, and it happens over time. And I guess try to be patient with yourself, and try to it's an evolution. It's going to be an evolution of understanding. It's going to be an evolution of getting back in alignment with yourself. So try to view it that way, because really that's what it is. I mean, that's not me being, Pollyanna sunshine. This really is what it is. It's reconnecting with yourself.
Lots of love to you guys. You are not alone. You are not crazy, and you really can move forward and heal from this.